Hi, my name is Jamie Roth, and I'm the founder and owner of Intuitive Encounters, as well as the upcoming Freedom Era Summit. Welcome to a powerful conversation about women shedding old roles, outdated beliefs, and stepping fully into what's next. Today, I am so honored to introduce you to a woman whose healing journey is nothing short of extraordinary. She's in her 50s, and for most of her life, she was dismissed, misunderstood, and even labeled as crazy by doctors, society, and even the people closest to her. She has lived through years of misdiagnoses, medication, disconnection, not just from her body and her mind, but also her own voice and her own truth. But over the past few years, everything has changed. Through deep intuitive work, energy healing, somatic release practices, ancestral trauma exploration, she's not only come off of years of SSRIs, she's awakened to a completely new version of herself, one that is grounded, empowered, and fully alive. This segment is about what it means to wake up physically, emotionally, spiritually, and to reclaim your identity, even when others still can't see your transformation. Please welcome my longtime client and very courageous friend, Samantha, as we explore her journey from surviving to sovereign. Hi, Samantha.
Hi.
So let's start at the beginning. Can you take us back to what life was like for you before your healing journey began, physically, mentally, and emotionally? Just anywhere you feel like you want to drop in that makes sense for you.
So let's say out of a month, I probably slept 2 weeks
And you mean actually sleep, like in bed or wherever, actually like asleep, eyes closed, asleep. You're not.
in bed, asleep, or either just laying there, no television, no noise, no nothing. I didn't get up to eat. I didn't get up to smoke. I just laid in bed.
And how long would you say that's been going on in your life?
As long as I can remember, honestly.
Yeah.
Like my last year that I went to school, I missed 154 days because I didn't sleep at night, so I slept during the day.
Okay.
Um, that was pretty much my life. Stayed
Yeah.
awake at night, make sure nothing's gonna happen, and I slept during the day. I
Okay.
had no dreams, no like I didn't really want to do anything. I just wanted to sleep.
Wow. And your family let you miss school? Like that was okay? Was that
Oh,
was that like modeled to you somewhere along the way?
yeah. I would just leave a note on my door saying I have a headache. Don't wake me up.
Okay.
Or I would go to school and then I would end up calling my mom because I was sick because I took I don't know um, too much what is it called?
I'm
Maybe
not
it's a
sure.
silence medicine I was on when I was a
I was
kid.
just gonna say like Dramamine or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like
Benadryl, something like that.
Actifed is what it was called.
Actifed. That's like an old school med.
Yep.
I
I
took
would, I would,
Dimetap. Have you ever heard of Dimetap? Not to sleep, I
yep,
have allergies, but do
yep,
we even have Dimetap anymore?
yep, yep. Took
Okay.
Comtrax. That's what I would take too. I would take that at school because if I took that, it would make me really, really sleepy, and then I could convince my mom that I was sick. I'm going to go sleep.
So even when you were awake, you were wanting to be asleep and devising plans to get to sleep. Am I understanding that
Yes,
correctly? Okay.
yes,
So essentially, you have lived your life asleep. And I
I
take
sleep.
that to mean physically, but also symbolically, metaphorically, like asleep, right? Not totally awake to what's happening in the world, what's happening around you. Is that true? Would you say that?
Absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Hmm. Hmm.
My brain is. I think my brain's been asleep since. So I took my first antidepressant after Sam was born because
Okay.
I had postpartum depression.
Okay. And at what age?
Didn't want to do it, for weeks. I would just like put it off and put it off, and it was miserable.
Hmm.
Finally got on Prozac, and then from there it was Paxil, and then from there it was, Lexapro, uh, every single one of them. But Effexor was the one that got me on in 2004. Effexor and Valium, I'd been on that since 2004. No dose change, just Effexor.
2004. We're going to get into this a little bit more, but 2004 until
until
2023.
that August of 2023 is when I took my last.
Okay, we're gonna touch more on that in a little bit in the episode. But what I also wanted to ask is, okay, so you've spent a lot of your life actually physically asleep, but also symbolically asleep. And then the other piece I wanna, and we'll get, more into details all of this, but just to start us off, one of the outstanding things to me is how you've always been told you were crazy, not just by like doctors, but even by your
Mhm.
family. And I'm curious what it's like to carry that label and like what it did to your sense of self.
Well, I have to really think now logically, like to myself, say it because you know what you're saying is not crazy. But everything that I've always said, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. Um, because I started seeing doctors that weren't, Western medicine doctors. They are woo woo doctors, according to, you know, well, according to my son, my oldest son.
Yeah,
But I mean, it tears your self esteem down, which I didn't have any self esteem to begin with. So
right.
that,
So it just compounded what you already suspected was the truth about yourself anyways, right?
right, right,
Yeah,
right. And I've always been like really shy, so that didn't help a whole lot. Wondering if what I said was somebody was gonna say,
right.
"Oh, she's crazy.
Right, right. I
She's
know
crazy."
that when we first started working together a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, however long it's been now, you would say that a lot. You would say something to me, you'd share something about yourself, and you would follow up with something along the lines of like, I know that's crazy, or
I
I'm
know that's crazy.
crazy. Yes, or I'm crazy. Like the number of times you said that and initially in our work together, and I always was like, nope, stop, pause, time out. Nope, nope, nope. We're not doing that.
Not crazy.
Is that true? Is that accurate? And you'd be like, I don't know. I think so because everybody's always told me that. And that was one of our initial things we really had to help you work through to realize that you were not crazy. So let's dive into that. You've now been doing some really deep healing work for several years, and much of it began when we started working together. So at what point did you start to sense that something deeper was going on, to make you want to have a session to begin with? Like, how do you go from pretty sure I'm crazy and I'm just going to stay asleep all the time to I want to heal, I want to do healing, I want to get a session with Jamie Roth or whoever you might have thought of initially?
I really don't know, but I know that back in 2017, I made an appointment with you
Yeah,
and then didn't show. Didn't that happen twice? That happened in 2021
right.
too.
Yeah,
Twice I did
I was
that.
back in Mississippi doing an event.
Yep.
You were supposed to come for a session. Yep. You were
Yeah,
like
no, I
the
slept.
first people to schedule out with me, and then
And guess what I did that weekend?
you
I
slept, I
slept.
think. Yep.
Yep. Slept right through it.
Yep. So you had inklings of I want to do something, but then when it would come time to it to have the session or whatever, the resistance showed up, some kind of block, some kind of fear subconsciously. Like, did you realize that was happening, or were you just like, oh, I'm tired, like normal, typical excuses you had, like putting the note on your parents' door on your door to let your parents know I'm tired? Was it kind of like that, or could you feel that there was some kind of resistance to doing the healing work, even though you also really wanted it?
There was definitely resistance. Because for one thing, I didn't really know anybody other than you that
Right.
like, and didn't really know you. Just I had just been following you
Right.
since like fucking forever. I don't know,
Yeah.
2008 or 2009
Yeah.
or something like
Yep.
that.
Yep. I've been around a
Um,
bit.
but I just knew there had to be something different, and I wanted to live. So back when I got um from long COVID, when my brain swelled, I think that's what really just kicked it off because the summer before I contacted you, um, my brain was swollen and I didn't know what was wrong with me and I thought I was gonna die.
And
Like
did you know your brain was swollen? Because
I
I feel
didn't know what
like
was wrong with
that's stuff
me.
that we were uncovering as we started to work
Right,
together. Okay.
right. right.
But you were
I
in
didn't know.
physical pain?
Oh, so much. I couldn't turn my head. Like I couldn't turn my head any further than that. Lost all the I lost all the peripheral vision on my left side. I felt like my head was in a helmet
Yeah,
and I was in so much pain and I thought I was dying.
yeah.
Like and nobody could really tell me why I was hurting so much.
Mhm.
Um and I decided then somehow or another I was going to figure out a way to live longer if I got through that.
It sounds like if nothing else, there was just that will to live, or you actually said I knew I wanted to live. But I have found that with humans, like it's such a wild thing that people in some of the most dire circumstances have this strength and will to live. Our will for survival is amazing. So it sounds like that's what was sort of speaking up for you, even if you didn't know why. Although I'm guessing you have a why, like your husband, your kids, like I know how important they are to you. Was that it, or did you feel like it was even just more personal for you? Do you even know, or do you just know there was that survival, that will to live?
I just know I didn't want to die.
Okay.
I
Okay.
wasn't ready to die. But I also didn't want to live like in the pain that I was in the rest of my life either.
Right.
And I knew there had to be like something out there to help me,
Another way.
another way other than Western medicine.
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
you know how much pain I was in when we first
Yes.
started.
Yes. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Yes. Oh,
Ooh,
yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that. In those early sessions, do you recall anything that stood out to you? Like, what was the first thing you began to feel or notice that you hadn't before in all these sleepy years of life, which have been many, which is why I brought up your age initially, because you're in your 50s and this journey started for you in your 50s. And a lot of people would think it's too late, or I don't want to, or I don't know how to, or just that fear of the unknown, even if you haven't been enjoying life. So in those first sessions, do you recall some things that stood out to you about things you felt that you haven't felt
oh,
before?
for one, like at 55 years old, I learned to breathe.
Yep.
Like, and that makes a big difference in your life when you breathe
Yeah.
correctly. So what I've been trying to tell my family, like, they're
Yes.
like, oh, I'm like breathing, man. It's like I'm breathing, Mama. No, you're not breathing. You don't understand. You're not breathing. No one teaches us how to breathe.
Mhm.
And what you can do with breathing is pretty fucking amazing. Like we know.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little more. Let's tell the people what do you know you can do with breathing.
Well, let's see. You can go all the way back to when you're 1 year old
Hmm. Yeah.
and remember things that you didn't even know you had in there.
Yep.
Let's talk about my grandmother's fingers. My grandmother had her fingers cut off,
Hmm.
and during a breath work session, my hand started burning like fire. Like, it hurt so fucking bad.
I remember.
And it was my grandmother's fingers being cut off, and her family was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It'll be all right. Just go on with your business."
Hmm.
Same thing with my mama lost a baby, and you'll have other children. You got other kids.
Right.
Don't quit your crying. What you quit crying? We ain't doing that.
So you embodied ancestral trauma that was coming through you because it does in fact come through us, what's called epigenetically. And I'll just share for the people who might be watching that don't know that. Like they've actually done studies now and proven that we have what's called epigenetics and that ancestral trauma can pass down and we can experience it within the cells of our body and within the memories of our DNA, as far as three or more generations back. So like your mama, your grandma, your great grandma, your grandpa, and that's, you have multiple sides. You have your mom's side, your dad's side. So what Samantha's talking about is we did a very transcendent breathwork session, which, breathwork can take you into other realms. It changes your brainwave state so that you go into that theta brainwave state, which is that meditative space. And you can access parts of your brain you're not accessing just on your daily life. And you can then get in touch with again, the stuff that's kept in your cells, whether that's your own traumas from young childhood. So that's why she's saying that she felt stuff from when she was one. That's absolutely possible. I've seen it in many breathwork sessions. I've experienced it in my own breathwork sessions, and that of ancestral trauma. So I remember that session. You were actually here for a private retreat with me. It was 3 days, 3 nights. It was very intense, and you can actually do some healing for your ancestral lineage through your own body by having it show up, experiencing it, feeling it, understanding it to a different depth, and releasing it, but then also going on and changing the future. So something I've seen with you, Samantha, is this recognition of not only your own trauma, of your own actual lived life, but the ancestral trauma and how that lineage has continued to be passed down. And now you're trying to change that narrative in your own family line with your own children, and how you speak, how you show up. Can you give us an example of one thing of like ancestral lineage? You were speaking to it, but it's the brushing the stuff under the rug that you've come to realize and how you're trying to change in your family. Can you speak to that a little bit?
The brushing under the rug,
Yeah,
everything. You brush everything under the rug that you don't want to talk about, that's uncomfortable.
uncomfortable. Mm-hmm.
And you shush somebody down if you don't like what they're saying
Mm-hmm.
and it's uncomfortable to you. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I've been shushed my whole life.
Yes.
Shush.
And that's also where the crazy dismissiveness is coming, right?
Yes.
That's just a form of
Yes.
shushing you. That's a form of dismissing you, of not wanting to hear the truth of someone speaking something, which, oh,
Here's something.
that's
Here's some
crazy,
things.
Aunt so and so. That's crazy, Mamaw. That's crazy.
Why you want to start this shit right now?
Yep.
Why are you trying to pick a fight with me?
Right.
Why are you bringing that up?
Right.
That happened forever ago. Why do you want to bring that up now?
Yep. Yep. And so we're kind of jumping ahead, and that's totally fine because this is you and me. We're always we go a million places all over, and it's
That's
wonderful.
enough.
But how are you at to clarify for the people watching, you're just now recognizing this in yourself, right? And in your own family dynamics with your husband and your children, correct? So up to
Right.
this point, you have actually raised your family in that same sort of brush it under the rug, don't speak on uncomfortable topics, correct?
Absolutely.
But now here you are trying to change that dynamic. And how's that going so far for you? How is
No, it's not going so great, to be honest with you.
okay? Tell us more. Is your family's not wanting to talk about the uncomfortable things that for all these years they
No,
didn't have to talk about?
no, they don't want to talk about uncomfortable things. They don't want to hear what I have to say. They don't realize that my own experience, what I experienced and what I experienced with my parents not having any education on the situation, because 95%, if I read that correctly, 95% of all childhood sexual abuse anyway can be prevented by education.
Yes.
So I just kind of feel like 95% of all abuse could be,
Yeah.
but no, we don't.
You're trying to speak up about challenging things that you're seeing happening in your family or that have happened for you. And what are you mostly being met with? Are you still being told you're crazy? Have you been told that in a while? At least to your face, anyways.
No, not to my face. Not, but honestly, um, yeah, I haven't been told that in a while.
Okay.
But then again, I hadn't approached a whole lot of conversations either,
Right.
but because I'm still trying to figure out a way to do that without pissing people off, you
Right.
know.
Right. Right.
And that's it too, without pissing them off.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because that's not a great way to start things off. Nobody responds well when they get immediately put on the defense.
Right.
Um,
I invite conversations
right.
like the one recently, with Amanda and Jared about the parenting.
Mhm.
Like,
That's your children, your daughter and your son-in-law.
right.
Mhm. And you're trying to invite
And
some conversation about some hard topics.
and I if they don't want to speak, they're not speaking to me right now. Right now. Um,
It's hard to change a dynamic. I mean, you yourself lived that. Don't speak to it. It's uncomfortable. That's in your marriage and that is in your parenting up to this point. So here you are. Your children are adults now. There's three adults. What are their ages?
36, almost 32, and 27.
Okay, so they're like full-fledged adults. Two out of three have their own families. And here comes mom, who we for years dismissed as crazy and also taught us these ways. And suddenly she wants to talk about things. So, it's
Right.
understandable that they're not just immediately like, yes, we want to talk about things too. They haven't been on their healing journey. So it is challenging. And that is something I'm glad we're bringing up right now because, one of the things that I find with women, the big question is, when they open up to, freedom to be themselves, when they start to unpack traumas, when they start to realize roles and labels that were given to them that they no longer serve or want to only live by, and they start to like try to do self-discovery, one of the big things I come across is women saying that they're scared to do it because how's it going to affect the others around them, particularly usually family, their partners, their spouses, their children. And that's not an easy thing. And so are you glad you're doing it though? Like, do you
Oh,
just
absolutely.
go back to being asleep or like, are you here to stay in this role and you're going to keep moving forward for yourself and your family?
Oh, I'm here. I'm not going back.
So
I'm not
what would
going
you
back.
say the benefits, like why? Like you're expressing how what a struggle it is and your children are still not really like receptive to this change of okay, we're gonna actually talk about uncomfortable things. We're gonna try to work through it. So what keeps you motivated to, do this path and stay in
Well,
your
my
own
grandkids,
journey and your truth? I'm sorry, say that again.
my grandkids for one,
Okay. So you
but
continue to see the future still through the next following generations.
right. Um,
That's
but
powerful.
I know that I have more to offer than anyone's ever given me credit for, than I've ever given myself credit for.
Right, that they've ever known. Is it even that they give you credit for, and also just maybe they haven't even known? You've
No,
been asleep. You've
they don't
literally been
know.
asleep a lot. Which means you have been asleep for a lot of their life too. I mean, we have to be
Oh,
honest about
absolutely,
that.
absolutely.
So here you are
That's
awake
like my
now.
biggest regret right there is missing the time that I did miss with my children because I was fucking asleep.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
but
now you're
I
showing up, and you're not going to stop showing up.
right, and I wasn't just. It wasn't that I was just asleep. Like I couldn't make myself get up. I was sick. Like
Right, right. That's
I
so
was.
hard to say.
I wasn't just depressed. I was fucking sick.
Yeah.
Like from mold, from
Yep.
all the pharmaceuticals that they had me on. I mean, Jesus Christ, they had me on at one point blood pressure medicine, cholesterol medicine, something to go to sleep, something to wake up, something Valium, antidepressant, mood stabilizer,
And I want to touch
anything
on
that anything that just here, take a pill. There's your
I
pill.
and I want to touch on something that we've talked about in sessions and how nobody was even regulating meds at one point. I think
No,
basically like the pandemic happened and you were just on these scripts that just kept showing up and you were able to pick them up, but you had not actually met with a doctor who was prescribing
no,
this in what, 5 years?
I had not. I saw a doctor in February of 2020. I did not go back to that clinic until last year. They made me come in and do um, like a urine test.
Finally.
And now they're making me come every 3 months. But no, um,
Why do you have to go now when you're off?
I'm off everything but the Adderall.
Okay. So,
Yep. That's
so
my
they
next
are
stress.
regulating. Okay, good. I'm glad they're regulating what needs to be regulated because that was with the when you first told me that. Do you remember how astounded I was? I was like,
Yep.
"What? And how do you know
Yep.
your dose is even for you or working for you or that you don't need more or less or maybe could get off of it?" And you were like, "I have no idea." And I was just like, "Okay, we have several starting points here." Like,
Yep.
just to be clear, I never tell a client like get off stuff. I support Western medical model in combination with holistic healing and spiritual healing. But we need to be having appropriate meetings with people, doctors and stuff, there need to be conversations. We need to be noting changes like this where you're just on the script forever and nobody's even regulating it is absolutely wild and just very Western medical practices that I don't love.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And we all know my system was all screwed up anyway because
yes.
my thyroid stays out of whack, you know?
And one of the things you like to mention is, and you can mention now, is how nobody was talking to you about what other types of things, nutrition.
Oh, nobody ever talked to me about my diet. Like, why would we talk to her about her diet for, ADHD? I don't know. Maybe like all the dyes in foods and shit like that, chemicals. Maybe,
Right?
maybe. No, nobody ever talked to me about my diet. Never mentioned it.
Or about movement. Did anyone ever mention, physical movement or exercise?
No.
Did anyone
I
ever
mean, I knew I should be doing it, but
right.
I was I wasn't doing it. But
Did anyone talk to
no,
you
not
about your
because the
stress
doctor told
levels?
me, hey,
Your
how about you get some exercise?
right.
You know, how about you get some sunshine?
Yeah. Wow.
Nope, they
So there
were
was
not.
nothing in the whole like mind, body, spirit realm. It was more just the mind and it was just the pills to just keep,
It was just take a pill.
right.
What you need a pill for? Here's a pill. Here, try this pill. This is a different pill. Yeah, I had good doctors. We won't go down that rabbit hole today.
Yeah, we might save that one for another time.
Yes,
But we will drop in and mention that there has been some addiction issues that you yourself have gotten off of each time, have managed to stop. But scripts that were given to you that shouldn't have been given to you, that caused, I don't know that they caused addiction. Addiction, I personally believe addiction.
I mean the addiction was there. That's why I was being an
Right. Right.
addictionologist.
Right. So, but nobody was touching your trauma. Nobody was telling you to move. Nobody was talking about your nutrition. Nobody was talking to you about your spiritual practices, and just having something bigger than yourself. That's what I mean by people having spiritual
Right.
practices. So the Western medical model was failing you. I hope I can say this, correct me if I'm wrong, but your family failed you. And I'm talking about family of origin, like parents failed you in the way that, well, they didn't know any better either. And so you were
Right.
raised in the same light they were raised in. You were raised in a lot of trauma, a lot of addictions, abuses, a lot of love as well. We can always say that. There's always
Yes.
one truth. I know you love your family dearly, your parents, and also there was a lot of fucked up things going on with aunts, uncles,
Yes,
cousins.
there was. Yes,
And
there was.
nobody was teaching you about communication. You grew up with a mama who herself was depressed and suicidal. So, there's a
And
lot of,
she did not communicate. That's like, let's just run away from the problem. Just get in the car and drive away.
right, like literally,
Literally, or let's just take an overdose. Let's just forget about it.
right, right.
That was her answer to the problems.
You've
So,
really seen some shit when it comes to that. So let's bring back to more present tense now. So something you had this survival instinct, there's got to be more instinct. And I actually find that a lot with people that they don't necessarily know. There isn't necessarily a trigger moment. But the amount of people I have per week that come in my door, sit on my couch, first time clients, and are just like, I don't even totally know why I'm here, but I know I need something different. A lot of times it's also coupled with I've been on these meds, they're not making a difference. And or I've been in therapy for years, but I feel like it's just, like I'm just in a hamster cage, just going round and round or hamster wheel. And so I think it's really beautiful how we tend to have this. Sometimes humans have this moment where they just know there should be something different. So you had that. You made a couple sessions you canceled in years past, but you finally kept a session and we started working together. So I'm curious what life experiences have come to light for you that have changed how you perceive yourself and others.
repeat that.
What life
But like,
experiences have come to light for you that have changed how you perceive yourself and others? I mean, I think we've kind of already talked about some of this, but is there just been some things like I know from working with you that you definitely seem to have a different viewpoint on humans because you recognize your own trauma. And I know you've expressed to me, you now realize Everybody has trauma.
Everybody,
And therefore, we could
everybody.
be relating to each other in different ways. I think that's sort of the question. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Um,
Or just even how do you relate to yourself more with life experiences coming to light? Like that ancestral healing work, the breathing, like where do you feel like that's brought you to yourself? Do you think you're crazy anymore?
no, I do not think I'm crazy, and I also know I can control my. For the most part, I can control my body. I can control my pain. Um,
So before it just took you, it just overtook you. You were just
no,
living
yeah,
through pain, but
I
now
just
you're
in
realizing,
pain. I didn't know what to do about it, but now I know I can just like breathe
huh?
and just focus on that
Mhm.
particular place, and I can get myself out of pain.
Yeah, you do a great job of it, actually. And changing mindset, controlling pain, changing
Oh,
mindset.
big time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You go easy into deeper meditative states, which is something that's really awesome because a lot of people strive to meditate and I can't meditate, I don't know how to meditate, and there are work to, but they want to because they know that there's some, I don't know, what would you say comes to you with meditation, breath
Oh,
work?
oh, so much clarity, insight, hope.
Oh, that's a nice one. Would you say peace sometimes?
Yes,
Even
absolutely.
amidst
Peace.
like turmoil and chaos? So when
Hmm.
you, in fact, when you deal stressful situations before you might take a medication or just go to sleep or be asleep, now in stressful times, chaotic times, I mean, shit, we're living it in this country right now, but just even in your own personal life, what's your coping skills now? What do you do now?
I breathe. I
Yeah.
swim. I do yoga.
Yep.
I mean, it might not be yoga, but it's my yoga.
Yes. Dance. We
I
do our
dance.
goddess
I
flow.
dance.
We move our bodies. We dance.
I dance all the time, and I've never danced before. Like I can't like stop dancing. Like
That's
those people at the hotel that we just stayed at in Charleston, they we had a balcony. They probably thought I just
I
I
love
just feel
that
the
for you.
music constantly,
I love that
constantly.
for you. Okay, so I also want to ask, what has it been like to slowly begin trusting yourself, particularly say your intuition? Because I mean, after really your whole lifetime of being told that your body and mind were wrong, even to the degree of you're crazy and being dismissed, like I wouldn't say it's been easy to necessarily trust yourself. So what can you describe?
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, so like what's been, I don't know, can you describe the ups and downs of that? Some of the self-talk you've had, both negative and then how you've positive, just anything along those lines?
I've always had a good intuition, and I've always known that. But I have been like, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You're overreacting. I think that might have. What was the one you gave me when I said, let's don't go down this trail? I
Uh,
don't like that car down there in that field.
Paranoid, don't be paranoid or paranoia,
Yeah,
something
don't
about
be
that.
paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
Intuition.
Mm-hmm.
I always listen to my intuition now. Always. Always.
How has that improved your life? Because, this is an important topic because that's a big uncovering our intuition that you and I both know everybody has, but we've either been muted, volume down for various reasons, usually because we're told that it's evil, actually. Just wrong in some way.
Oh, yeah.
Or that's
Yeah.
only for like prophets, like only some people have that gift, but you and me don't have that.
Right.
So, and then, that we're crazy. And so to start listening so when women start to self-discover and they start to turn the volume up on the intuition that's naturally there, it's not that easy to listen to because you still often have that, in the back of your mind going, can I trust this? Do you have a moment where you feel like you sort of tripped into like, I can believe this? Are you still struggling sometimes? Like I hear you say, I'm always listening to it now, but like, how did you really get there to that point?
I did not listen to it one day. That's the point.
Hmm. You
That
didn't
one
listen.
day.
You didn't listen
We
to
that day I did not listen to it. I should have said, that was my turning point. I'll always listen to my intuition now.
Okay.
Always.
So you're referring to the day we went on a walk and that man jumped
Mm-hmm.
us in the, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just to give context to the people watching, she was here for a private retreat with me and we went on an early morning nature walk and she's expressing that she had some intuitions not to do that. I did not, but we started taking a walk. It was just on this trail down from the Airbnb we were staying at. And we were maybe a quarter mile down the trail, and a man all in black, covered from head to toe, jumped out of the bushes, maybe, I don't know, 100 feet away, not very far. And he just like jumped up and we both screamed and started running and bolting the other way. We were very fortunate that he did not follow us. We don't know what he wanted, but we can assume bad things because why are men just in the bushes in the forest and why are they
In
popping
a
up
hoodie.
in a
With a
hoodie?
hoodie over his head
Yeah,
too.
I mean, it was a black hoodie, and I think he haven't even had a black mask on, and he was all in black. And
Yeah.
so it was just very ominous, and we did call the cops, and they didn't come because I guess they didn't care since he didn't follow us. They didn't want to look on the trail. I don't know. It was a very bizarre situation, but Samantha's expressing that, in her mind, she knew she had felt we should not go on that trail. And it was so terrifying to both of us. It was a very terrifying experience. We were literally across the bridge from our Airbnb, so we
Mm-hmm.
ran back and we were fine and safe after that. But it was so it rattled me too for weeks, honestly. But that was your tipping point, you're saying, of where I will always trust my intuition.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yep. So, but do you ever at all, even though you feel certain about listening to it, do you still at all have any like, can I trust this? Or because a lot of women,
Maybe
have to sit
maybe
there like,
once in a while there might be something there that's like, but most of the time, no, I go with it.
yeah,
I'm with it.
yeah, I'm with it. I like it.
I'm with it.
Okay, so in the mind experience, when you came to me, I started recognizing that you had symptoms of brain inflammation, like actual brain inflammation, which is very common for people these days, due to dysregulated nervous systems, inappropriate medications or dosing, food. A lot of it has to do with our gut biome. They know that there is a direct correlation between our gut biome and our uh I'm losing the thought, but our gut biome and our brain biome, and there's a connection. So if you have what's called leaky gut or any type of messiness in your gut biome, you might have brain inflammation. And when you have brain inflammation, that causes like brain fog. For you, it even caused mania symptoms,
Psychosis.
psychosis. Yep. There were several times in the first year we worked together that you were in like a manic mania psychosis type of state.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So when we started talking about that and we talked and start learning about the nervous system, and doing the breath work as a part of nervous system healing and somatic work like movement, goddess flow, energy work, doing the Reiki, getting regular sessions, even long distance. We should point out that you live in Mississippi, I'm in Indiana, and most of our sessions, 99% of our sessions are long distance aside from the times you've come here to be in person. And so it just goes to show that it works. The energy work, the intuitive
That's right.
all of it works long distance because everything is energy. Um, so once you started recognizing about the mind stuff and doing those pieces, your brain inflammation started going way down. And then what were some of the effects that you noticed with that? Less mania for one thing. What about all that pain you were feeling, especially like in the neck and the
Oh yeah, the pain. The pain's just like compared to what it was when I first started seeing you. I was in pain all the time.
all the time?
Now it's like, if I've been at the ballpark all day
Right,
and set through three games,
right.
you know, not even travel really. I mean, I just traveled and
Yeah,
I was, other than my knee going out, I was fine.
yeah,
Um, that's another thing I used to do. When I traveled, I used to come home and it'd take me out for 3 or 4 days. Like
yes.
I'm gonna go to bed, I'm sleeping for 3 or 4 days.
That stimulation of all that travel.
Hmm. Um,
Now
I
you,
did sleep the day, most of the day Monday,
yeah.
but um,
Now you're actually awake, is what you're saying. You're awake in life, physically,
awake in
emotionally,
life. That's
spiritually.
yeah.
Actually, we haven't even gotten to that part yet.
Oh, my poor husband. I
I
told
think
him I took a poll. I told
you
him I
want your
took a
children
poll
to
of all
watch this,
married
right?
men. Huh?
You want your children to watch this, right? So maybe we'll keep it a little PG so they're not just like, ew, gross.
Yeah. Maybe
Um,
that's another segment.
so you're in less pain overall. You're literally a more awake and alert. A lot of your
Oh, I feel. Oh, I went and got a after my session with you there the first time. A couple months later, I went and got a pedicure, and I could not sit in the chair because it tickled so fucking bad. Like, and now I have a hard time with a pedicure. Like, I have to be like, I psych myself up for it because it tickles so bad, and my feet have never been ticklish before.
because
Never.
you can feel now you're not numb. I have actually had a similar experience, and I do think this is common. So thanks for bringing up this topic. It's a good one for women to know. I used to need really deep massages all the time, like the painful kind, because I felt like if I didn't feel pain, nothing had happened, and I want them digging in with their elbow, and I really wanted the deep massage. And then I went through my own healing journey many years ago. And I unnumbed basically. Like I didn't realize what was happening until I started getting massages and I could no longer deal with that pressure. Like it hurt so bad. And I got to the point where I actually don't like those kind of massages anymore. And it's because
Yeah, I can't do
my
it either.
body came online and turns out I don't need pain to feel. Uh,
Right,
so when you unnumb, it's a whole experience in your body and you can feel pleasure more. You can feel sensation, literal sensation, like tickling. You didn't realize your feet were that ticklish, is what you're saying, right?
right. I know. My feet have never been ticklish before.
It's
Like I used to go with
wild.
Amanda, and Amanda was like, "Oh, her feet are so ticklish," and I'd be like, "Amanda, please." I mean,
I know.
she'd be like, "But now I know how she feels."
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
wild.
that was weird.
Yeah. And then let's go ahead and let's touch on the sexual. I don't know what you want to share. I don't want to cross any privacy boundaries, but can we just say that there was a time period in which that really wasn't on the agenda for you and your husband, a decent length of time period where sex was not really an activity that's happening because neither of you were really online?
Like 8 years.
Okay.
I'll set it.
Yeah.
I'm not
And
proud of it, but
no, but it's the truth, and people, I appreciate your transparency and honesty. That's what we need to do in these conversations. Let's put it out on the table so women can understand what's available to them. And I recall specifically doing a Goddess Flow session with you, which to share with the community is a somatic movement practice. There's breathing, there's dancing, there's heart circles, they're just dropping in and getting in touch with yourself. And I recall that it took one of those, one time
one of
and
those.
you opened up sexually like it was like magic. It was wild.
It was crazy, and
Yeah.
and it's been crazy ever since.
Yeah.
Like it seems to get more intense. Like yeah,
And also,
more
let's go
intense.
ahead and point out again, your age or in your 50s, and a lot of women are, going through menopause or are menopausal, have maybe lost that drive, or have never realized they've had it to begin with, much like not needing deep massages, much like having ticklish feet and not realizing it. A lot of women don't realize the sexuality and the sensuality and the pleasure their body does desire and can experience because they've been numb for so long. And they've with,
And
how,
especially numb to that
yes,
because
especially
that was
that.
dirty and
And it,
gross,
yes,
shameful.
painful. Thank you. It's a very
Yes,
intimate act. And women, this could be a whole segment on its own. We'll probably have to do multiple segments together. But, just, quick little side trail is like for sexuality for women, it's, the shame piece, we're taught that we're not allowed to have sexual desires. We're called sluts and whores and things like that. Like there's so much wrapped up in women's sexuality. But again, I just want to express it like one somatic healing session of body movement was like magic. Now, you had already been doing other things too. So I do
right,
believe it all
right.
built and worked together.
And
But
and the pellets.
yes, yes. And you did get hormone therapy. Thank you. Because again,
Yes,
remind ourselves of different models we can marry together and use. And also your husband did as well.
Yes.
Got some hormone supplementation. So that also helped as well. So, yes, thank you for bringing that up. It's important to be honest about all of it. And that's what we're here for, right? Let's actually do things that work together in
Right.
all of the communities, holistic, Western medical, that kind of stuff. Um, okay, so we may have already touched on this, but is there anything that's really surprised you in working with like energy healing specific to like,
Everything,
okay,
all of it,
okay.
because I didn't know anything about any of it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And you were raised in the deep South, in the Christian
Oh,
South.
yeah. That you don't do that. That's witchcraft.
Right, right. Do you have did you initially, when we start working together, have any guilt or shame about traversing this path that is more spiritually aligned as well? Because we do
No.
talk about, we do bring in the spiritual into our sessions. We don't just talk about holistic wellness and the mind body connection. We add in the spirit because I am whole person healing.
Right.
And for me, that involves spirituality, which, as you know, can mean anything you want it to mean. I don't determine for another person what spirituality means, but I know, if you're working with me, typically we are going to talk about the universe, maybe spirit guides, intuition, crystals, things like that. And so at any point initially, I know you're all in now, sister, but initially, did you have any of those things creep in? Because a lot of women do. The guilt, the shame, the fear.
No, because I was so much over my religious trauma.
Okay.
Like I've been fucking around with that for years.
Okay.
That no. I
So
had
let's,
no I had no real belief system now
right.
on that. I had, been told that growing up. That wasn't my belief system.
So let's talk about that for a minute, though. You were a heavy, what I would even call maybe Bible thumper at one point, right? Just in the sense of like, I know you're like, man, when I look back at my old Facebook posts,
Oh my God. Oh, well, who the fuck was this person? God, she was missing so much.
yeah. So
Good, pray
religious
about it.
deconstructing has been a part of your healing process, is really where I was going with that.
Yeah, yeah, big time.
Is that's a
It's kind
usually
of, it's kind of embarrassing
what part?
because the whole fact that I believed in that shit.
Mhm.
But I mean, my
Are there
whole fucking family, both sides of my family, all my fucking ancestors that I know of believed in the Bible
right,
and were Church of Christ,
right.
Church of Christ people. My
So
grandfather was a Church of Christ preacher, for God's sakes. Don't have to do much to be that.
yeah. So on that note, who in your inner circle, family and or friends, is still very indoctrinated into religious beliefs?
My daughter, son-in-law, my aunt, but I don't talk to her. She don't talk to me anymore because I told her not to ask about my ask if I talked to my brother because I ain't talking to either one of them. And I don't know. I I guess I well, she thought I was wrong for that, obviously, but I'm not wrong for that.
Okay, so let's drop into that. So first of all, let's just have that question answered. They're still close family, including your daughters, who you're saying, and
Yeah,
son that are
yeah.
deeply into the Christian religions and values. And so, what has that been like for you to pull out? So, have you lost people and relationships due to specifically the religious part first? Let's talk about that.
I mean, maybe I don't know right out though. Like,
Do you
not they
care?
ain't said
I
it
guess
to
is
my
the question.
face.
Yeah. No.
No, I don't. If you step away from my life because I don't believe in the Bible and your sky daddy, go,
Yeah.
go, go. Go.
And do you now have a goal or mission to try to convince people otherwise about their religious beliefs?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes,
actually,
because
you
they
were
look
say
dumb.
no.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's fair. But it is important to bring that up because again, religious deconstruction is pretty common within my clientele base and people I see women self-discovering. And one of the biggest fears is losing people over that piece, and it does happen. The reality is it does
Oh
happen.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It
But
there was some people that if I hadn't walked away from them, they probably would have walked away by now. You
right.
know.
So then the other aspect that you were touching on was your aunt's upset because of some family stuff that you're experiencing. And I believe this is due to your healing. So in your healing, especially in your familial patterns, meaning who you grew up with, brothers, mom, dad, aunts, uncles, cousins, all of them, you've made changes not only in your religious beliefs, but just, how you operate in general. And so it sounds like that has rubbed some people in your family the wrong way. And how have you
Yes.
dealt with that? First of all, has it been painful or hurtful to you? We need to let people know the truth.
I mean, yeah. Sometimes it's lonely at the top.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
That's kind of the way I feel.
Right.
The more healing work I do, the less people's in my life.
Right. Which is one of the most common pieces, and we can't brush around, we can't pussyfoot around that.
Yeah,
Like part of it is because
it's lonely.
it is lonely, but also it's because what? You don't align with those people anymore, and you're no
No,
longer willing to pretend
right,
you
right. I'm
align.
not. I'm not
You're not
gonna
stepping
pretend.
into this you who is trying to live with, self-worth and self-confidence to speak your truth to still just pretend you're someone you're not.
Right.
And
The
then,
people that are not in my life have no respect for me,
right,
and that's pretty much the main reason why they're not in my life.
right,
They don't respect me.
right.
Um,
But you respect yourself now is the key.
right,
And you're
right.
not
And I'm not gonna
tolerating.
put up with it.
No.
No.
So it's powerful and also lonely. And that is a very common thread in the healing journey that's important. You're bringing up all the important stuff. Thank you.
But it's not. It is very lonely, but it's not lonely enough for me to backtrack in any fucking way.
There you go.
I am willing to find other people,
There you go.
other sources.
Yeah. And that's the key I want people to know, women to know is like it is lonely. The other aspect that I'll bring up is it's not just when you don't align, but you do tend to find out who really had your back or not to begin with. Like some people really only like the old version of you. And that doesn't mean that that person is wrong or bad or evil or that they didn't love you or don't love you. It's not as simple as that to make cut ties like that. But the truth is, some people only like certain versions of you, certain stories, because it matches their narrative about them and their lifestyles and their truths. So
Right,
you do lose a lot of people in a healing journey, but then you have what I believe you're saying is the opportunity to gain new people who you align with. You've turned a page. I had a client tell me that the other day in a session. She's like, I need my partner to turn a page because I've turned a page and I need him to turn a page so we can be on a fresh page together. And I loved that sentiment. I was like, yeah,
yeah.
I feel like you've closed a whole ass book and like you're opening a new book. I don't even feel
I
like you've
think so
turned a
too.
page.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like
What's
you
this
like
page turning
breathe,
shit?
yeah, breeze through a bunch of pages. Okay,
Yeah.
so your brain inflammation went down. You know this by less pain. So I just want to kind of touch mind, body, spirit. Less pain. Your
My eyesight,
is improved.
my thinking, my balance. That's how I knew my brain inflammation gone down. I
Okay, your
could
bowel
stand up again without worrying about falling. I could see. My depth perception was back. I could drive again. I couldn't drive for I
Oh
mean,
yeah, you stopped
I
driving for
really,
years,
for a few years, like, I only drove like a couple of times in a few years.
right?
Like, everywhere I went,
And a part of
Garen
that was
had take me.
anxiety, right? Because the driving was also inducing such extreme anxiety.
Right, right,
Or just going out in
right.
social situations and stuff. So that's reduced hugely as well. Your anxiety is reduced. You still have it, but it's reduced greatly. And then body wise, your sexuality came online. You became unnumb. You realized things like you were ticklish. Excuse me. you've already been on a physical healing journey that you've done several things. Like you had a Hashimoto's diagnosis years ago and you healed that before you worked with me, which is pretty awesome.
Right.
Um, where do you think some of the body healing came in, aside from the somatic work and the energy work we've done together? Where do you think some of the other physical body healing has come from?
Um, this my swimming,
Yeah, moving your body often.
moving, yeah. Um,
And probably also, well, I was just gonna say not laying in bed, which means moving, because I'm sure, you get sore and tight, stiff just laying down all the
right.
time. But I was also even thinking about, you've worked on learning things about food and medicine and diet. So I know that you've had a history of like, oh, over the counter meds, popping, what was it, the ibuprofen or Tylenol
Oh,
from
what Excedrin. I used to take like
Excedrin.
Excedrin, like that, and then Excedrin started. My back started hurting when I take Excedrin, which I guess was my kidneys or my bladder or something. So I changed to Advil, and I haven't taken.
And you also reduced it by like you take it rarely. I know the other day I had to
I,
remind you it's still okay to take something if you need it. We actually had to have that conversation recently because you gotten to the point where it kind of went so extreme. I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Let's be a little more moderate to know that you don't need to be suffering. You can take some ibuprofen,
yeah.
whatever. You were
Um,
having a lot of histamine reactions, because you have, why do I always forget the name? What is it called?
it's mast cell
Mast cell, thank
activation
you.
syndrome.
Activation syndrome. Thank you. I do think you have that, but I think that not only did you reduce your brain inflammation, you reduced your gut inflammation, which has reduced having that mast cell, that histamine response.
Mm-hmm.
We were first working together a few years ago, started. You were having reactions probably every few months, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Your
Oh,
face would
or
explode.
at least once a month,
Yes,
probably.
blow up probably once a month.
Yeah.
And now it's what, 6 months longer, would you say?
Well, let's see. When I was there, which was April,
Yes.
and then
Oh, you did have another one, but it was also very short-lived. Both of them also healed faster. So that
yeah,
was
I woke up with
April,
my couple weeks ago. I woke up
couple
with
weeks.
half my tongue swollen, just the
Yeah.
right
So,
side of my tongue.
right. So April, May, June, July. So a couple months. But before that, even when you came to see me recently, it had been quite a while since you had had a reaction. So that's reduced drastically. Plus, it heals a lot faster, like the swelling goes down and everything.
Yep.
Um, so literally the inflammation in your body has reduced greatly. Um, your mind fog has cleared up. Your intuition has come online. Let's see. Is there anything else you can think of that's just been, such change for you mentally, emotionally, spiritually? I do have more questions, but just kind of wanted to like summarize the mind, body, spirit experience.
Well, for the most part, I just kind of stay in peaceful mode.
Yeah, that's huge.
I
That's
just kind of I just kind of don't let anything just really upset me too much,
yeah, yeah,
which used to be the total opposite. I used to be mad all the time.
yeah. So let me ask you this. If you had to describe how trauma was stored in your body before versus how it feels now, are you able to put that into words? How trauma was stored in your body before? And I don't think you're like totally without trauma now, but
Right.
we could put it in perspective of like when we touch on that, say in a session or it comes up in between sessions, what would you say is the difference now in being able to sense it, know it, feel it, understand it versus before?
Um. Well, before it was hard to pinpoint one damn place because it was all in my damn body.
Yeah, good point. That's an excellent point.
Because my whole body hurt. Like when I do a body check, it's like, okay, well, everything fucking hurts. So where do we start?
Yeah, I do remember that in the early sessions. And so
Now it's normal. It's normally in my lower back, um, maybe in my hip a little bit.
But also going back to this sleepiness, the actual sleepiness, nervous system wise, what was happening is you were freezing, you were shutting down, your nervous system was constantly in detection of perceived danger. And so you were shutting down as a way to check out and not deal with that perceived danger. So now you're still going to, nervous system still exists, that sympathetic nervous system still exists, but it's in a much healthier, regulated manner, meaning it can still detect what you might perceive as danger. How do you experience that now? Before, you would shut down and go to sleep. Now,
Right.
now what happens?
Well, now it's just more of a thought
Like,
thing.
like, do you feel safe to feel the danger as opposed to just shut down or take a pill to cover it up so you don't feel it at all?
Right. Right.
Like, do
Yeah,
you feel capable?
I very much capable of going through it.
Right. Okay. Which is
Very
huge.
much capable. Yes.
And you are very capable. You have proven that many, many times. Very, very capable. So that's huge. That's a big change, is being capable of feeling the uncomfortable things and also trying to communicate about the uncomfortable things.
Working on that one too.
Yes, you are. So, many women, especially in, I would say 40s and up, are taught that their growth is behind them. What would you say to that belief? What would you say to women watching this?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm growing and changing every single day. Like I know I am. Like
Taking it back to the beginning of our conversation when you said, you just knew there was something, there was a different way, maybe a better way. Do you feel you found that way?
I do feel like I'm that way. Yeah, absolutely.
Like you've proven, like it was a proven concept to you now that like there was a better way and I've sought and found and I'm living and embodying that way?
That's right.
And what would you
That's
call
right.
that way? What's the better way, if that makes sense?
Well, the better way would be like, how about get in touch with your own body and spirit, and you can work through anything.
Right.
But if you don't know your own spirit and body, well, you're kind of fucked because it's going to take control of you.
Yeah. You're just going to live via other people's expectations and rules and roles that they've put on you.
Yep.
So, how would you describe the you that existed before versus the you that exists now? Either just in a couple phrases or words. The you existed before, the you that exists now.
Before I was sick. My mind was sick. My body was sick. I was asleep. I was angry.
Okay. And
I was
you
very
also
angry.
you also had an agreement with yourself that you were crazy, right? I mean, being told that your whole
Mm,
life, you
yeah,
also made that
absolutely.
agreement in yourself that I am crazy. I must be.
And I am almost confident in most areas today.
Mhm. I would
I know I bring something good to the table. I just do.
Yes, ma'am, you do. And I would say you are confident in many areas and still working on some. You said I'm
Yeah,
almost confident in a lot of areas. I would like
almost.
to disagree as someone who cares very deeply about you and has seen your changes and growth and evolution. And I would say you're very confident in a lot of ways and still having some ways to work on. And that's okay, that's a lifetime.
Yep.
A lot of people are faking it. Anyways, the confidence.
Yeah, I feel like they are
Anything else that now you would describe, would you say you're also awake?
awake, awake in all areas awake.
What about
Yep.
vibrant or thriving versus tired? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I do want to help encourage some, like, who is it the you that exists now? Are you as angry?
Oh no, 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 no.
Well, what was
I'm
that
some
anger
angry about some
rooted
other
in?
shit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they ain't nothing I can really. And there's not a whole lot I can do about it. But
Right.
you know, we all know where we are.
Do you know what the anger
Um,
was rooted in before that and why you're not angry now about it?
I don't. I don't really know. Just I guess I could maybe just because I've worked through so much of it.
Yeah.
You know,
And my guess is it wasn't it. I'm not a guess. I know because
not
I
a particular thing. It's just so many
yes.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
the religion, the neglect.
There you go.
That's
Which leads me
and
right
then
into
there was abuse.
yep.
You know, um, and then the fact I couldn't talk about it. I knew about it, but I couldn't talk about it. Don't bring that up.
So that brings me to my next question then, you want to be seen now in this new space. I don't know if we mentioned that enough in this podcast, but in talking in preparing for this, we discussed some of the things we might want to talk about and what felt important to you. And you definitely are in a space where you want to be seen now, especially by your family. So, what's been the hardest part of knowing how much you've changed and still feeling dismissed? Because as we said earlier in our conversation today, like it's not all being well received, and that is a part of the healing journey. And that's why there is some loneliness. Some people are parting and leaving ways, or you are of them. But as far as like your husband and your children, there's definitely still been some dismissiveness. You don't recall that anyone's calling you crazy anymore, at least that you're aware of, but you do still feel dismissed because they're not ready for the conversations you're trying to bring to the table. Because you
Right.
you sort of did a 180, 360 on them, right? I mean, you really did an about face, and they haven't quite caught up. So I don't know, and please clarify because it's your life, but I don't know that they're doing it intentionally to be harmful to you. I don't think they are. I just don't think they've caught up. Regardless, though, you do still feel like you're being dismissed. Is that true?
I do. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I'm gonna fucking explode
Yeah.
because I feel like I can't talk about the things that I want to talk about.
Right. And what are some of those things that you feel too hard for your family to receive yet?
The reason I'm so passionate about child sexual abuse,
Preventing it. Hmm.
the
Politics
re-
gotten in the
the
way.
reason that yeah, and the reason that I'm so passionate about you know, not hitting your kids, spanking. You call it spanking, I call it not hitting your kid.
Mhm.
Like you can't spank without hitting, plain and simple. And I don't understand it. Like, why can't you come up with a better way? It's called laziness.
One of the things that's standing out to me that I'm loving to hear from you is how you're describing this, why I'm so passionate. And I think that might be what they're missing. Like all of a sudden you're having these conversations you weren't having before, and who knows how they're receiving it. Like, why is mama doing this? I don't know what's going on in their mind. But I think one of the things they might be missing is that you're passionate about it and it's for a reason. It's not just to be critical
Right,
or annoying or irritating.
right.
It's because you have woken up, and in that waking up, you have discovered a lot of things like about child rearing that you yourself even raised your children in. Although you didn't spank them, correct?
Yes.
You did not hit your child.
I did not spank them, but Darren did. He did spank Blake.
Right,
He, I think he, I think he may have popped Amanda one time, and the way she looked at him, he didn't do that again. But that used to be a fight all the time
right.
because no, I didn't spank my kids. I always felt like there was a,
But it was in your
you
home.
could
Daddy
talk
did
your,
it,
huh?
but it was in your home. Daddy did it. So your children did have that model to a certain degree.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So now you woke
Sam never got a spanking.
right, your youngest.
Blake's really the only one that. did. And he doesn't, he thinks, oh, I'm the reason I am the way I am today is because Darren beat my ass. Really? Really?
So the point is you're waking up to political ideologies you no longer align with, religious ideologies you don't align with, raising children ideologies. I mean, basically, like the cornerstones of the human experience, you have woken up to and changed your narrative on, your experience of, your knowledge on, and you just would like to share that with them and be heard, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
They don't want to hear it.
You don't really necessarily, of course, you would love for them to agree with you and change their ways as well, but I don't think that's necessarily your goal right off the bat, right? I mean, it is, but like, first they have to receive you in the first place, right? You see what I'm saying? That like you might have some knowledge now that you didn't have before.
Right.
Like it's okay to change. I think another part of this is a dynamic that is very struggle for every human everywhere, and that is when we do change our mind. When we realize we made mistakes and we're willing to own those and change them. And most people are not comfortable doing that. But here you are showing up in changed beliefs, changed patterns of thinking, and changed ways of living. Like bravo to you. That's amazing. Like, I know I tell you that all the time, and I'm going to continue. I'm so proud of you. But most people are not comfortable in doing that. That again kind of relates to the loneliness, wouldn't you say?
Yep.
People don't like to recognize when they're wrong or they've made a mistake and then admit it. Most people think that's shameful. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So our society doesn't do that too well. If there is one message that your family could hear from you today without clearly and without judgment, what would it be?
I do know what the fuck I'm talking about. Just listen.
Yeah,
If you just listen. I don't talk about shit I don't know anything about.
yeah,
Not with this kind of passion anyway.
yes.
But normally I don't talk about shit I don't know anything about.
And again, let's touch on, speaking up is such an important part of your healing because, as you said, you want to, a lot of it's about your grandkids. Like you realize your children are adults and they're kind of who they are. But of course, you're changing in your 50s, they can too. But you're just trying to save the future generations, and like course correct, and
Right.
right? Isn't that a big part of it for you? Speaking up is so important because you want to help the continued you're trying to heal the lineages that have been in
Right.
pain and suffering and create a new path for your lineage, right? Because it's your lineage now. You're an elder of your lineage.
Yep. And I guess it's like they don't get that because nobody fucking did it before.
Right, right. Well, once again, even though there has been challenges, because healing, would you agree that healing is not one easy?
Nope, it's not.
And two, it can be very lonely, you've said. Because I think that's
Yeah.
important. 'Cause I think people go into the healing journey, especially if they participate in somewhat more of the spiritual piece of it as well. So, like we said, crystals and intuitives and oracle decks and things like that, like the fun tools, like people see that and think it'll just be sort of soft and fluffy and you go to someone like me who's really a good cheerleader to people, but I'm also going to challenge you, and it feels good, but honestly healing is hard. It
Yeah,
just
it is.
it's hard, it's painful, it's lonely, and it's also what would you how would you just
Worth it.
yeah,
Fucking worth it. 1,000,000%
yeah.
worth
And
it.
why though? What's so worth it about it if you could summarize that?
Oh, I just feel like
Hard,
I'm gonna
painful,
live so
lonely.
much. I just feel like I'm gonna live so much longer and at more at peace and like fully live. Like fully live. I wasn't fully living before.
Alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think we sort of touched on it, but like you don't sleep like that anymore.
Oh no, absolutely not. I sleep like max 3 or 4 hours and then I'm up usually.
Yeah. You've kind of flipped. Yeah.
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 So, what would you say to other women who are being told they are too sensitive, too much, or even crazy and don't yet know it's possible for them?
Well, I mean, I would tell them to make an appointment with you, but
Thank you.
on top of that, I mean, I do that all the time. Like, I don't know why you keep saying all this great. When I have someone say, "Oh, you look so great. You're doing so great," and blah 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 blah, and then they're like telling me all their problems, and I say, "Well, you can do virtual with Jamie," and they don't ever do it. It just gets a little irritating.
Yeah. People like the idea of it. Well, let's have compassion because remember, you did cancel a couple years prior to
Absolutely,
it actually in
absolutely, I
reality
did.
it actually took you a few years to actually keep your appointment. So we'll
Yes, it
show some
did.
compassion to them on that front.
Okay, yeah, let's show them
Um,
some compassion.
but so how would you define freedom now after everything you've released and reclaimed?
Oh,
That's a hard one. I don't even know if I know how to.
yeah, that is hard.
I think for me, freedom is just the ability to be confident in my own authenticity. So it's this unshakable self-worth, meaning it's no longer determined by who thinks what about me or what boundaries someone else is
Can
living
just
by.
be who I fucking am. Just
Yep.
be me.
Yeah.
Just fucking be me.
Yeah. And
Plain
liking
and simple.
yourself enough that it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks about you.
Yep.
And also, I think it's really important. I can't believe I almost missed this before we wrapped up. I'm glad I didn't. But like, you haven't lost everybody, and everybody's no longer dismissing you. Like your husband, Darren, if I'm recalling correctly, is pretty on board and pretty proud of you, and has absolutely seen
He is.
changes and has been able to verbalize that. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
I know he's not
Yes.
a man of many, many words when it comes to anything deep, but he has, correct, expressed to you.
Oh, absolutely. Like our marriage is better than ever. Like,
Okay.
and we're both working on communication.
Wonderful. And then your youngest son, so your two olders are kind of struggling with your changes and unsure how to take this passion about
Yeah.
some of these topics. But your youngest son has also even recently expressed his pride in
He
you
has.
today. That was so
He
wonderful.
has. He has said, that he recognizes that I'm happier, um that I don't sleep all the time, that
You don't trauma dump as much.
I don't trauma dump as much, and I don't and then I'm trying to just better myself all the way around. Like he recognizes it. Yeah.
Yeah. He even made a mention about your communication being different and improved as well
He
recently.
did. He did. He
Yep.
complimented me on that.
And how did
Something
that
that I
feel to hear from your son, one of your children, this
a lot
validation?
because he's the one that's in therapy and has been in therapy since he was 7, like for 10 years now. So I feel like he's just a little bit more in touch with himself.
Right. If
But
anyone could recognize it, he could.
well,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it meant a lot to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is pretty amazing. Let me double check if I had any other questions. Okay, so finally, what's next for you? What are you stepping into now in this
Hmm.
new version of yourself? What's what's Samantha 3.0, 4.0, 2.0, whatever, point oh?
I don't want to lie to you, tell you I know right now because I don't. But it's something. I've been
Might
thinking about TikTok.
Might I suggest that it's about creating new something we've talked about. I'm not bringing this up newly right now, but finding new friendships, right?
Yeah.
People that you actually align with and want to have conversations with about interesting topics that interest you and exploring, spirituality in more of a group situation, not only with me, not only by yourself. Am I mistaken about that? I definitely don't want to put
No,
words.
you're not mistaken about that. I'm looking for my people.
Yes, there you go. There you go.
Find me people.
There you go.
Yep.
Well,
Find me.
to those of you watching, if you've been told you're too much, too sensitive, that you're imagining things, please let this conversation be confirmation that you're not broken, you're waking up. This is the freedom era, your freedom era, and your liberation doesn't have an age limit. So, Samantha, thank you so much for doing this with me. We've been talking about it for a while, and I'm super excited that we did it. And you are
Me too.
living proof of what's possible when we stop abandoning ourselves and start listening to our own inner wisdom. And I see you, I honor you, and I'm so grateful for your voice in this movement. And to those watching, we see you. Samantha and I see you. We honor you, and we are grateful for your voice in this movement. So,
Ditto.
please like, subscribe, and share, and be on the lookout for the Freedom Era Summit coming up in September. You can keep in the know by subscribing to my newsletter at www.intuitiveencounters.com. Love you, Samantha.
Me too.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to pause this.